Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by closersio, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Mishal Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Michael Howard joining us. He is the founder and CEO of Nichefire, and also a two-time Social Intelligence Insider winner and a leading expert in predictive analytics with multiple AI patents to his name. His company Nichefire is revolutionizing how brands predict cultural trends using AI-powered cultural intelligence. We'll explore his founding story today, really how Nichefire empowers brands and how he's reshaping market research and what the vision looks like for scaling this game-changing platform. So with that being said, let's dive in. Michael, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure having you on. Kick things off for the listeners today. What inspired you to launch Nichefire, perhaps around a gap within the market research landscape or maybe reactive social listening tools? What was that aha moment?
This is something that actually has taken a few years to come across, right? My background's been like heavily in like consumer insights, digital marketing strategy, and that sort of thing. I actually started Nichefire technically in 2017, technically, after I did consulting for a while. And one of the biggest pain points I always had was actually around competitive analysis work that I would do for customers as like a consultant. I so we built this product that essentially leverage AI to be able to look at a brand's social media content, their online advertising, that sort of thing, and benchmark it against their competitors and help them find white space, that sort of thing. But we weren't able to get the traction that we wanted from that. We were struggling with it, and we tried to do that for a couple of years, and say we eventually went back to the drawing board. Fast forward to 2022. We had a major customer of ours when we had the competitive analysis solution come to us one day and say, "Hey, we have all these analytics tools, all these social listening tools, any tool under the sun. None of them, though, can tell us anything about what we don't already know to look for. So it's unknown unknowns, right? What we learned is that, and what we realized essentially is that big companies, enterprises, to this day are stuck. They're stuck chasing trends and trying to figure out what to do after they've discovered them, rather than proactively identifying and anticipating them and already having the plan in place to do that. As a result, these companies are missing out on millions of dollars worth of opportunities. Opportunities like for new product innovations, strategic positioning for their products, thinking about ways that they can resonate with their consumers more effectively. And what we did is just we took that feedback, built up this janky MVP of a product using a bunch of old data we had in Tableau and pitched it to them, and they loved it. And they purchased a pilot that week. It was really great. And so we thought we were onto something and started shopping this around to some other customers. And literally everybody that we talked to it said they had this same sort of problem. So
Mhm.
it's like they're struggling with those unknown unknowns. And more or less the key to understanding that is understanding what is happening in the culture around us, the common behaviors, beliefs, common interests that communities and people share. How can we understand those? And how can we use that to help us resonate with people more effectively? So that's a little bit of how we came across Nichefire.
Yeah, this is such a big problem right now, especially within the market research landscape that you just shared with us around Lingo, for example. They hopped on the train with TikTok. I'm sure you're familiar with that story.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now everyone's trying to replicate everything that they're doing, and all those brands follow Duolingo trying to do that. So that's powerful. So as far as the core offer goes, what does that look like? How are you generating revenue today with Nichefire? Who is your ICP as far as some of the brands that you like to work with? And then what does a typical engagement look like as far as someone who does enter the platform? What happens after that as far as the deliverables go?
Gotcha. Let's back that up. Starting off, what is it that we sell? So we offer a solution, it's a B2B SaaS platform, essentially. What we do is what we call culturalists. So the idea here is that we pick up on emerging cultural trend signals from all over the web, search, web traffic, news, social media, podcasts, you name it. Our objective is to have it's an automated approach to service you what emerging trends, themes, topics might be pertinent to you and things that you care about, strategic initiatives that you have, and be that kind of source of discovery for those opportunities for you. So that way you can take those next steps in your innovation or research pipeline essentially. And so we work well. We complement like social listening tools very well, complement like consultants and other types of analytics tools very well by helping our users understand, okay, where should we be looking at next? How can we use that to empower their research more or less? And so that's the foundation of the platform. We also offer a lot of automated reporting, so that way strategic leaders and insights leaders across an organization can always stay on top of the latest that's happening in their market across any topic thing that they care about. But the pricing is we offer unlimited seats, so you can have as many people in your organization as you want on the platform. The way that all scales is based on the number of what we call strategic topics that you need.
Mm.
So what that is, think of it as like an always-on environment that
Mhm.
continuously identifies emerging themes, topics, trends, opportunities pertaining to any strategic area or product category that you're focused on. I could be interested in, say, gut health, and you just
Mm.
type in gut health, and it'll just continuously identifying and servicing those trends and forecasting them for you.
How long
So
for?
yeah,
How long does
I'm
that
sorry.
happen? Yeah, how long does that happen for? Is it usually just over the course of a month, 2 months?
It's always on. It's constantly doing that for you. You have a couple different ways in which you can organize like the types of trends and patterns that come into the platform, but it all follows that same methodology. And again, the priority there is being that discovery solution for you. Now, there's a litany of other services and fun things that we bring to the table. One of the most prominent I'll mention here is like our forecasting methodology. So we have it's patent pending at this moment, but essentially what it does, it identifies a variety of like qualitative and quantitative variables about a trend, the
Mhm.
emotional characteristics about how people feel, the different quantitative patterns, so like search traffic, engagement patterns, stuff like that. What platforms are they trending on? What platforms they trend on next, and the types of topics that people talk about. So we use that
Mhm.
all to define what a trend is, and then we store millions of different examples of trends from that as like a referenceable database. And so
Mhm.
what that allows us to do is build out really powerful forecasts that can forecast those trends upwards of 12, 18 months into the future with 90+% accuracy. It becomes really powerful when it comes to understanding like, hey, this opportunity has come up. Is this something I should invest in now, or is it something I should disregard? Allowing those consumer insights leaders to have a little bit more evidence behind how they work. So that's a nice little tidbit on some of the technology that we built out. But we typically service enterprise CPGs, retailers, QSRs. So some of our clients include work with like Kraft Heinz, Lululemon. We work with Walmart, Nestle, Keurig Dr. Pepper. So we work with a good variety of different customers that are in those industries, and we primarily service those that are in that kind of the consumer insights and social intelligence functions of those organizations. But
Incredible.
yeah.
Cool. So a lot of your ICP is essentially enterprise brands. You've already gotten into Walmart, Lululemon.
Hmm.
Congratulations on that front. So
Thank
building
you.
on that, how are you currently generating leads right now for Nichefire? What are some of those channels, some of those strategies as far as generating more potential clients, whether it is like LinkedIn Thought Leadership? I know you have over 7K followers on there. Are you doing anything around ads, referrals? How is all of that structured?
So, like probably any startup that you meet with, there are maybe very limited on resources, so you have to get very scrappy and very creative with how you market. And also too, we're very focused since we're very focused on like the B2B enterprise side of things. The way we market and position ourselves is going to be very different than somebody that services more small businesses or consumers at that fact. And this is something that's still evolving, something that we're still working on. And we have a number of different engines that we're working on, just experimenting. So I want to give the most credit to my co-founder, Khalil. He's leading the charge. He's our CRO. He's leading the charge on all of our sales marketing efforts. They're doing a great job in that way. But in our first couple years since we transitioned to this cultural listening solution in 2022, 2023, our primary approach to generating leads has been through communities that where a lot of our buyers, a lot of our like the evangelists for these types of solutions interact. So like the Social Intelligence Lab, quick shout out to them. Dr. Jillian A is it's phenomenal. She runs an amazing organization there, and we've
Mhm.
done a lot of partnerships with them on content events, and that's actually been a wonderful opportunity for us to introduce Nichefire into the market and actually start to generate some more organic interest. And also to finesse on LinkedIn. Literally just interacting, cold messaging and stuff like that was some of our initial approaches from that, and then our just leveraging the hell out of our network essentially from that too. Like early on, that was like our primary approach, and we started getting some traction that way. But where we're at now is okay, we need to find for one, a good repeatable approach to generate more inbound interest. And then in a way that for every dollar we spend towards it, the amount that we get back is maximized. So that ROI essentially. And so some of the things that we've been doing, like I have my own newsletter blog called Culture Shock.
Okay.
And Khalil has his own called Lil Signals. We have our own like niche fire one. And so content creation has been like a foundation for driving some of that inbound interest. And what we've
Mhm.
been doing lately is just driving traction to
Mhm.
those kind of creative assets right there. So building up authority, a thought leadership through the content that we create. I guess you'd say eating your own dog food. So leveraging our platform to identify insights, appealing to consumer insights leaders and that sort of thing. And generally that's actually been, so we're still optimizing that, but it's actually been able to start to pique the interest of different agencies, different consumer insights professionals in this space as well. And so that's actually been very effective so far, and we're just continuing to capitalize on that. We haven't really done much advertising. The only advertising we've really done is just to test out different messaging. But that's going to be something that comes eventually because we see it as a valuable avenue,
Yeah.
but it's also something that requires a lot of investment, and we want to make sure that we have great assets that we can put money behind, and we have a good methodology behind that too. That's a little bit about how we've been generating leads.
Yeah. So a lot of it primarily is the organic strategy, leveraging the partnership channels to really get in front of who you want to work with, networking. And the next step is going to be launching some paid advertising as well to
Yeah.
start that
And of,
repeatability. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and of course, sorry, and just, and one more avenue too, because there's a lot of phenomenal tools out there. Your platform closers.io and stuff like that is one of them. We partner with HubSpot and Clay and a couple others as well to be able to generate more effective outbound campaigns to draw an interest as well. Email calling strategy, prospecting has been another big avenue from that too. Another tool that we've been leveraging to help us identify inbound traffic has been our B2B, a great tool for
Mhm.
qualifying web traffic as well. So lots of different tools and different strategies coming into play from there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love it. So really exploring a lot on the cold outreach side of things as well, figuring out your work as far as getting in front of your ICP. Now, I know you work with a lot of different brands. Is the plan to niche down as well to a certain type of industry, especially if you do run ads, making sure that messaging is clear, that there is that CTA? I'd love to kind of get your perspective on that.
Yeah, the priority especially at a company we're a seed stage startup,
Mhm.
right? The key to success is focus
Mhm.
and reaching that product market fit. And so we're trying to narrowly focus on those consumer insights leaders, like primarily at CPGs, especially food and bev,
Mhm.
with exploring opportunities in retail and QSRs because those have similar stories as the CPGs. But the name of the game is pretty much the same there. Is we need to make sure that the solution that we're building is the right solution for them. And every day, the iterations on our platform, the conversation that we have, and the way we refine our sales and marketing efforts is just getting closer and closer to that product market fit. And so that's our key objective there is let's get to that product market fit, making sure that we have the right positioning and messaging that's going to really resonate with the right people and making sure that the platform is doing exactly what they need it to.
Yeah.
That's where our core focus is.
Yeah, 100%. So with that being said, I'd love for you to share with our listeners from a founder perspective, what have been some of the challenges with finding the messaging and the positioning there, especially because we have a lot of entrepreneurs struggling with trying to find their niche and really when they turn on, before they even turn on ads, they're finding it hard to stand out in the vertical that they're working in. What has that been like?
hmm I mean, this is one I could probably talk for days on because this is something that was really hard from us from the beginning, and actually, I'd probably attribute to like the core reason why like our original competitive analysis solution didn't work. It's just being able to really wrangle in
Mhm.
what is that right solution for that right problem. Right.
Mhm.
It's taken us a while to figure out like the right messaging, and I think we're doing a good job at that, at least now, and it's just getting better. I think we're improving that, but first piece of advice I would give on that is to get very narrow on what you provide and
Mhm.
then who it's for. Like when I started as an entrepreneur, The amount of times I was like, I want this platform to do this and that and this and that. And don't get lost in the weeds of all the different functions and features that it can do. Just focus on what is the core objective that this platform is going to resolve
Yeah.
for this kind of customer. The other thing that a lot of founders need to recognize is that they need to leave the ego at the door. But
Mhm.
like the way they feel about their product is going to be like they feel it's very sensitive to their baby, but they have to be open to the fact that hey, some people might not like it might not appeal to them in the way you need
Yeah.
it to, and that's going to be very important feedback. Got to listen to who those customers, because you might learn like A, that customer might not be the right person, or B, that your product isn't quite solving their problem in the right way. And so you have to be flexible when it comes to pivoting either your solution or thinking about unique ways to
Mm.
approach different types of customers there. And
Yeah.
so what a couple of signals from that too is if you have a customer that you're approaching that says, "Hey, this is an interesting solution. It's not quite doing what I need not quite doing what I need it to do, or I don't think it's going to do what I need it to do. But if it did this
Mm.
one thing really well, it'd be very valuable to me."
Yeah.
That's when you have a signal that okay, platform needs to be refined and pivoted towards that.
Yeah.
The other part of this too is if you're consistently just, the original like hypothesis of the customer that you go into and they're just like, I'm not interested. This is more of a nice to have, stuff like
Mm.
that. You never want to have something that's just a nice to have. It's got to be like very critical for them. And so that might be an indication that, okay, we need to think about another type of customer.
Mm.
When you're early on, especially when you're like in a pre-seed and early validation stage, like when you have that MVP, you want to have you, you don't want to be spread yourself too thin across multiple customer segments, but you want to be able to test out at least a couple to
Mm.
see which ones that you have the best traction with and then refine your strategy to focus there.
Yeah. And I
So,
think the other thing as well is a lot of, especially in SaaS, like customer client success teams are almost absent. And they're going to be the
mhm,
biggest advocates to finding out what are those friction points within your customer journey so that the product team can keep iterating and going from there. So that feedback loop is so important as well, something that's oftentimes missed.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as sales goes, what does your sales process look like? Do you have a team of AEs right now? Do you have business development reps? How is all of that structured in Nichefire at this moment?
What's fun is that we are a team of 5 employees. And we
Okay.
have a couple contractors. Our contractors are mainly developers and stuff like that. We have a couple analysts on our team too to help support. But primarily, it's myself, my two co-founders. We have Stephen, who is our ops and finance head, and then Khalil, who's our main CRO or sales and marketing person. Then we have our chief customer officer, Abby. She's awesome. And then our CTO, Rayhan, who is also awesome. We make a lean and mean team, but the way we're able to scale and produce effectively is through the tools that we have available to us and through the guidance and advice that we get from advisors or board and that sort of
Mm.
thing. So big shout out to them. So the other part of this too, I mean, we sell to like Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, right?
Mm.
And for anybody that sells into that industry knows that it is a pain to
Mm.
even just get a conversation there. And so we've had to go through many iterations and validate many hypotheses of how to sell into that organization. And so there's been a couple things that we learned over time from that. For instance, like you got like when you're having that early discovery phase, you have to be keyed into initial buying signals. Are they ready to buy? Do they have the money? Are they the right person? Do we have the right people in on the call? Who's
Mm.
making the buying decision? What is the procurement process like? You
Right.
have to be able to validate all those questions early on.
Mm.
The other part of that too, because this is like an issue that we had early on, is that we would have some initial calls and discovery calls with people that like would be the right users for the platform, but are not the strategic buyers, right? And so you early on you want to if you have a call with that user level person, your next call and your next demonstration should be focused on getting that strategic buyer in the room as well. You want to get
Yeah.
them involved early on, just so that way they're aware of your solution, and then they can start thinking about, okay, what are those steps to get you through procurement? You have to be so you have to be teed up and ready to go for that. So like our typical process, we have discovery and we have any follow up calls with additional team members if from a customer if needed. do a demonstration for that. It's tailored. Ahead of time we get an understanding of what they're looking for. Then we follow up with some sort of workshop and then discussion of what next steps typically lead to. When it comes to actually like selling, when you're a startup, you don't have the kind of finesse of an IBM or an Oracle or like these big enterprise solutions. So you have to get scrappy and you have to build out a pipeline that reduces resistance, right? So the way we start off is typically with some sort of proof of concept. The idea for that is this is 3 months to demonstrate here's how the platform works and that it does work. And one of the keys to success for having a good POC is ahead of time, make sure you have all of your like all the stakeholders that need to be involved addressed in an action plan. What are the core outputs that you need to be prioritizing? What are the KPIs? What does success look like? Just
Yeah.
document that early on with that proof of concept. And then what are typical next step after that proof of concept is like a 12-month like either enterprise level pilot or initial engagement. It's larger. It's typically about 12 months for that. And that one's one where it's like we're validating here are the use cases and other business cases. So spreading it out to a couple different teams to help validate that and ingrain the value from there. And then following that is just a continued expansion. So if you need global teams involved or these other teams that you want to test that out, but you want those initial interactions and engagements with those enterprises to be
High touch.
focused, high touch, focused on delivering value, recognizing too that hey, a lot of them have a ton of other tools that they're using, and
Yeah.
so it's the onus is going to be on you to make sure that the value that you're able to deliver is apparent and it's appealing, especially to leadership. So you have to make sure that you're delivering on those regards there too. But that's typically I could get into the nitty gritty, but like at a high level, it's like how we sell and how we kind of position ourselves to enterprises. It can be very tricky. It's an arduous process, but typical contract values and whatnot are in the tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, and sometimes too in the seven-figure range too, depending on the type of solution that you're selling.
Yeah, 100%. What do you feel like right now as a founder is like the biggest bottleneck that you're solving for with really scaling and growing Niche Fire over the next few years? Talk to us a little bit about that as you're building that runway going into this year.
So are you talking about more on the bottlenecks that we resolve for our customers, or what are the bottlenecks that we're facing?
Yeah, it's with Niche Fire essentially.
Okay. So some of the bottlenecks that we face, what number one is bandwidth, because we're a lean and mean team. We have limited resources, so we have to be very cognizant of the resource that we have and to be very good stewards of how we delegate those resources as well. I'm sure like us and like many other startups, there's been like alarming times where are very low cash we need to preserve and that sort of thing, and it starts to get ingrained too about being very judicious and frugal is a key to success for that too. A lot of startups, when they get a fundraising round, they immediately just want to hire everybody.
Yeah.
The what you want to do is hire when you absolutely need somebody. And so some of the things that we've done is, 'cause, like I said, because bandwidth is becoming an issue, and it's like it's very expensive to bring somebody on. But what we're doing is okay, we can bring this contractor on that can help solve this one piece and do it maybe for a couple hours a week, and then also assess what sort of tools are available to us to help us automate some of the functions and that to bring us back time in our day. And also too, like our dev team has been able to help us build out internal workflows to help us either deliver outputs and insights or for customers and for marketing and sales material and stuff like very efficiently. So that's just like an example there, but I'd say that's one of our biggest bottlenecks right now. And then the other part of that too is just it's the sales process with enterprise. It's very slow and arduous, but getting some of those wins with an enterprise it's very exciting. But yeah, it's just having the patience and grit to continue on. And that's another reason why to be very judicious and conservative with your resources is that your buying cycles are going to be much more spread out, a little bit more chunky than somebody that's selling to consumers or small businesses.
Yeah, especially because it's a lot more bespoke and customized, and you probably have multiple voice of champions, especially working at the enterprise level on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as it goes with the vision for this year, what are some of the goals you guys have? Revenue targets, where are you aiming, where are you laser focused as far as growth goes?
Yeah. Ideally, we're fingers crossed. We're hoping to open up a Series A round in 2026. We have some astounding traction in our sales pipeline right now that we're very excited about. And at the moment, it's just demonstrating A, can we convert those proofs of concept? And then B, can those proofs of concept convert to those 12-month engagements? So just continue to validate that process and refine as needed. So that's like the critical priorities for us especially on the sales side of things. But the other part of this too is, I mean, and I think every startup has to be cognizant of, especially with AI and whatnot, cognizant of the rapid pace of evolution and innovation
Yeah.
in the space right now. So we're constantly thinking about, with say, like with our platform, for instance, we're constantly thinking about how are our customers doing their job today, and what are some of the things the platform can do for them to help them with that. So a good way to think about this, and this is like a whole reframing of how we've been thinking of the platform itself is. So a lot of these analytics tools, if I'm a lead analyst or a consumer insights lead or a social intelligence lead at big CPG whatever, that what they're using is a stack of tools, follow like a research process that they have to then get an assembly of different insights from that, and then they compile a report for that, and they distribute that report to their boss and other leadership members, stuff like that, and they make a decision on that.
Mm.
The issue now is that traditionally a lot of those tools are just an input to a couple of insights that person uses to generate an output,
Mm.
like a report or something like that. Now, AI does such a good job of distilling and kind of synthesizing some of the meaning behind the insights, right?
Mm.
Some of that data. And what we're trying to do now is to see what can we do to be even more prescriptive with our platform. So that way, rather than just being this, okay, here we are, we're a tool that helps you just do the insight generation so that way you can then generate recommendations. We want niche hire to be able to directly generate that output for them, and then
Mm.
the tool itself is just helping them validate the information. Because one of the biggest struggles we're seeing with a lot of our customers right now is, okay, we get all these insights from these tools.
Mm.
What do I do with them? You know,
Yeah, how do
uh,
we actually tangify this into something that's going to actually deliver on
yeah,
the consumer side?
it it takes a lot of it takes a lot of creative thinking,
Yeah.
and it can be hard to come up with those ideas, those recommendations and whatnot sometimes. And so if you can come to the table through the platform itself with ideas, you can make their job more effective and easier, essentially. That's some of the areas that we're thinking about as we continue to evolve the solution.
That definitely would be a lot of completeness as far as from a user standpoint, because you're showing them what that use
Mhm.
case look like upon that discovery research being there,
Mm,
being outputted. That's super cool.
absolutely.
Awesome. Before we do wrap up, any advice you have for some of the listeners out there? Some of them are entrepreneurs, founders looking to follow in your footsteps and start their own SaaS company potentially. What would you say on one final note?
Yeah, that's a great question there. I would say, actually, probably a reiteration of that ego note I made earlier. It's like,
Mhm.
be prepared to change your idea. A lot of people get really focused on the idea that they originally had, and they need to recognize that what the market wants is likely going to be different. The product that you eventually make is going to be very different. The founders that succeed are the ones that are able to have the right match that those customers have. Just bear that in mind.
Yeah, 100%. You have to listen to your early adopters right from the get-go, especially as
Hmm.
you're building something new. And that MVP is going to keep iterating. So 100% gold.
Absolutely.
On that note, that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michael, and sharing your incredible journey with building Nichefire and empowering so many other brands out there to leverage AI cultural intelligence. And we're excited to see where this journey takes you along, especially as you look at scaling and growing. So, to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And you can also check out closersio for more resources on world-class sales and marketing systems. So until then, everyone, keep climbing and we'll see you all on the next one. Michael, thank you so much once again for joining us.